Ah, Stalin, the man who killed millions in return for nothing. The man who handled World War II. The man who had crippling paranoia. Don't we love him all? But it's important to realize how he came to be the leader of the USSR, or General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, should I say. Regardless, let's take a look into his background.
Stalin was born on the 6th of December 1878 in present-day Georgia, which was then part of the Russian Empire. His political action starts in 1917 after the Bolsheviks take control of the Russian Federation, established 9 months prior to the October Revolution.
For context, the October Revolution, which actually happened in November, was the movement in which the Russian Reds seized control over the democratic regime of Russia.
Stalin was first in charge of an armed demonstration for the Bolsheviks, but would later come to be a leader in an informal four-way together with Lenin, Trotsky, and Sverdlov. Joseph was also part of the Politburo, together with Lenin, Zinoviev, Kamenev, Tukolnikov, Bubnov, as well as our second character in this video, Leon Trotsky.
Leon, or Lev Trotsky, was born on the 7th of November 1879 in present-day Ukraine. He became a communist when he moved to Nikolaev, and as I said before, he was part of the Politburo, head of the Red Army in fact, until 1925 when he was subsequently kicked. He first sided with the Mensheviks, the minority, back in 1905, but would later come to change his decision and become a leader in the Bolshevik faction.
Lev first came to work with Stalin in the party of left socialist revolutionaries, the four-way I mentioned earlier, as well as with Lenin and Sverdlov, and then later during the times of the Politburo. He was assassinated in 1940 by Stalinist NKVD agent Ramon Mercader. But what exactly is Stalinism in the first place?
Stalinism is the idea that communism should run in one singular country, which rules the world with sheer force, where rapid industrialization and collectivism of agriculture are especially prominent. To get to this one-country world, there needs to be an intensification of class conflict, since communism is built for the lower classes to rebel for being unequal, and a strict totalitarian regime. In the end, Stalinism could be best described as a modified form of Marxism-Leninism.
Well, then what is Trotskyism?
Trotskyism, on the other hand, is the philosophy that where one revolution is triumphant, it should go on and spread to other countries, and in that way achieve a friendlier world, since everybody is aligned to the same thing. As you can see, these differences in ideology weren't too large, but were enough to cause some issues, and for this reason, Stalin really disliked Trotsky and tried to get him out of his way. For example, in 1928, Lev was exiled to Kazakhstan and then later banished from the Soviet Union in 1929.
When this happened, Stalin's alliances with Kamenev and Zinoviev dissolved, which marks the end of the multi-party system and the beginning of Stalin's dictatorship in the USSR.
Anyway, when Trotsky was banished, he was accepted into Turkey, where he later moved from to France. He had aspirations to stay in Norway, but since the Stalinist government had him on the run, in the end, he stationed himself in Mexico, where he lived until his assassination in 1940.
There were also many attempts to kill Leon before his actual death. There was a failed attempt in March 1939 and in May 1940, to name a few.
It is commonly believed that he was killed with an ice pick, but that is just not the case. In fact, he was killed with an ice axe. The ice axe has two parts, the pick and the adze. The adze especially was what wounded Trotsky, penetrating 7 centimeters deep into his brain, on the backside of his head. Though surprisingly, Trotsky lived and even started fighting with his assassin, which resulted in the assassin's hand fracturing. Leon's bodyguards would soon rush in to kill the assassin, though Trotsky refused, stating he needed to be interrogated. Leon was later admitted into a hospital and died the day after from blood loss. His last words were as follows:
"I will not survive this attack. Stalin has finally accomplished a task he attempted unsuccessfully before."
After his death, 300,000 people passed by his casket in Mexico City, which is where he died. To sum up, both men contributed a lot to the creation of the Soviet Union, but in the end their philosophies were different, and so their relations stirred up into turmoil. Where Stalin was in charge of organizing events and jobs, Trotsky was in charge of the Red Army. But when the dust settled and the revolution was over, Stalin got the upper hand and consolidated power.